Welcome back. TLDR at the beginning so that I don't waste some people's time. My husband was infertile and I wanted a child. I cheated on him and got pregnant by accident. He wants a divorce. My husband, 38, and I, 35, have been trying for a child for a while now. We've talked about having children a lot while we were dating. We wanted 2 children, boy and girl, but we haven't had much luck. We tried everything. I tried timing my ovulation cycle, but that didn't work. At first, we thought something was wrong with me. A friend of his, Brian, gave us the idea that either I could be having issues or my husband was shooting blanks. He didn't like the idea and almost had a nervous breakdown. He didn't leave his room for days until I convinced him to come out. The thought scared the both of us, but we had to know. We booked an appointment and got tested. It was the scariest moment of my life. Unless we were both fine, any other outcome could have spelled the end of our marriage. My husband kept pacing and biting his nails. Our results came shortly, and I hoped for the best. The doctor told us he had good news and bad news. It was what we had both feared. We decided to hear the bad news first, so that when the good news was told, it would be more palpable. The bad news was that my husband was the problem. He was infertile, and anything that could be done would be expensive and not even guaranteed to work. I was fine, but even that piece of good news couldn't dispel the cloud hanging over us. We went home in silence, unsure of what to do. I wanted a child so badly and felt like I deserved one. Some of our friends said we should try adoptions, but I didn't want it. Maybe I could have made some other child's life happy if I had agreed, but I felt that I shouldn't be denied a child if I was capable of having one. It wasn't right. Maybe the doctors were wrong. I tried to make myself believe that and anything that would validate my reasoning. My husband was the most affected. Hearing he was infertile was like a death blow. He didn't go out anymore with his friends, rarely went to work, and he picked fights with me over trivial issues. I wanted to try IVF, but he told me to be patient. We shouldn't be hasty and give it some time. He told me that he was having a change of heart and didn't want any children at the moment. I guess I should have understood back then that he was still shaken from the news. But I felt he was selfish and, well, I should be selfish too. I wanted a kid. We argued a lot, but we were still having sex. We didn't see any reason to use protection. But it wasn't enough. I choked every time I saw a family. It was wrong of me, but I was starting to get jealous of the other mothers in the neighborhood chattering on and on about their little angels. I wanted my little angel. I wasn't thinking straight anymore. Maybe that's why I did what I did. I got myself pregnant, but it wasn't through IVF. Maybe if I had done that, it would have been a lesser evil, but no, I was a bad wife. And so I cheated on my husband with one of the neighbors, a bachelor named Craig. It was supposed to be a fling. I wasn't very careful. I don't even think I took my pills, but we used a condom. Maybe that had a hole. I really don't know. Or maybe it was all a subconscious thing and I wanted it. Only God knows. I slept with Craig just once and I never thought about it ever again. I didn't even know I was pregnant until 2 weeks ago. I was very nauseous one particular morning. My husband stayed with me until it got better, but the next day it was worse, and so we got rushed to the hospital. It didn't even occur to me that I could be pregnant, which is ironic considering my obsession with having a child. The doctor gave an order for me to be scanned. That should have given it away, but it was like my husband and I had our brains turned off. I got scanned and we began to wait. We got called into the doctor's office and he gave us the good news. I was pregnant, and the look on my husband's face was like he had been punched in the guts. He told the doctor he was infertile. All attention was now on me. At this point, I knew it had to be Craig. As we walked out of the hospital, I told my husband everything. Edit, update, he wants a divorce, and I'm in shock. No, this shouldn't be happening. Why can't he see I wasn't trying to hurt him? I just wanted a child. Is that so evil? He just wants to leave me alone with a child by myself. If that's the case, I'm going to abort it if it means keeping my husband. Edit 2. We talked and he said he doesn't want me to abort it, but he also doesn't want to be a father. What have I gotten myself into? I need advice. Can anyone help me? Do I keep the baby and lose my husband, or get rid of the baby and still lose my husband? This isn't much of a choice. He says he's going to divorce me before the baby even comes out. I can't do this. This was all just an honest mistake. Please, I don't want my husband to leave me. Edit 3. You guys aren't being helpful. You're blaming me for something that wasn't even done out of malice. The stress of the past few weeks has taken its toll on me. I don't know if I can go on. My mother-in-law called the other day and screamed at me, again asking me to get out of my husband's house. Like, where the F am I supposed to go? I screamed back at her. All this stress isn't good for my baby. My husband keeps talking with his lawyer into the night. I fear I would wake up one day to find divorce papers on the table like he's always threatening me to anticipate. I still haven't made a decision on the baby. If I keep the baby, will I still get child support from my to-be ex-husband? So I'll keep it just despite him for doing this to me and abandoning me with a child. Goodbye everyone, this is going to be my last update. Pray for the baby and me. Story 2. I've been with my husband for almost 15 years and married 11 of them, and we have 2 young boys together. The reasons for stepping outside of my marriage has nothing to do with my husband, and it has nothing to do with the way I feel about him. I cheated for my own selfish reasons that I deeply regret every single day. Some point after I turned 30, I felt bored with my life, and kinda sad that I spent my 20s either in a committed relationship or raising 2 kids. Ending up as just another stay-at-home mom also kinda bugged me. Instead of bringing this up with my husband, I instead looked for the excitement outside of my marriage. I don't think the details are that important, just that he was an acquaintance in town that we had known for a couple of years. It lasted for around 7 months but got physical for the last 4. My husband found out when he got suspicious of my behavior, although at the point he found out it had been over for a couple of weeks. For the next month or so, lots of arguments occurred. Apologies on my part, not sleeping in the same bed, threats of divorce telling me it was over, etc. After it boiled down, we sat down to talk it through and came to the conclusion this wasn't enough to tear us apart. That we would get through it, and a time would come where it would seem like a distant memory. I suggested marriage counseling, but he refused at every turn, stating, "I don't want anyone to know my business. I don't care if it's a stranger or not." Fast for 2 years to now, and our relationship feels completely different compared to before my affair. Our sex life took a while to get going again after the affair, but it's never been the same. It never feels passionate or as loving as it used to. He's completely stopped all forms of PDA, which even friends of ours have commented on. Little moments like cuddling on the sofa tends to happen only occasionally now, and it's never for too long before he'll move away. He puts off date night as much as possible. When sleeping in bed, he's almost always got his back turned to me. And just in general, his whole aura has changed. I don't feel like he's cold towards me, just that there's something missing. One of the things that's been bugging me this whole year is back in January he had an endoscopy performed, as he was having very bad stomach pains, which is very worrying because his dad died at 30 of bowel cancer and stomach cancer runs in his family. I didn't even find out all this until days later, which has bugged me like crazy. Thankfully, he had ulcers and he's being treated for it. The fact that I know he's terrified anytime he gets stomach pains and panics anytime he's in a hospital, but decided to go through it all on his own really hurts me. He didn't even tell me he had stomach pains in the week leading up to him decided to get checked out, which shows me I've lost something major inside of him. No one in our personal life knows any of this, so I have no one to seek advice from. I'm not sure what kind of advice I'm seeking, so anything is much appreciated. Thank you. You committed such a terrible and wicked act against him that it's causing him extreme stress and health issues. Cheating has driven people to suicide, and I hope the 7 months of reckless behavior were worth it. You've severely damaged this man's life, and he may struggle to trust again, while your own future prospects will likely never be the same. Comments. He has possibly made the decision to stay with you for his children, to keep the family unit together until they're grown. He wants to at least give the illusion of a happy childhood for them. Your cheating has changed his feelings for you in a fundamental sense, and you are no longer the priority in his life. I imagine he'll end the marriage when the kids are grown and move on to the next phase of his life. I guess he has nobody to talk to about what happened, and he feels a great deal of shame and embarrassment. And his reaction is a coping mechanism. As for his medical procedure, he didn't tell you because he doesn't think you really care for him. And he just doesn't trust you enough to confide in with his fears anymore. You are a wife in name only because you failed to live up to that job description. It's the price of betrayal. You've broken his trust. It will never get back to the way it was. Of course he looks at you differently now. He decided to stay with you for practical reasons, like the kids and the high cost of divorce. Consider yourself lucky he decided to try to hold things together. Accept that he agreed to do so on his own terms, and that includes how he feels about you. He does not need to hear more apologies. You've taken a lot of the joy out of the relationship for him, and you need to think of other ways to put some joy back. Do whatever you can to please him and make him happy. I wish you good luck.